Welcome to Backseat Confessions Podcast. Slide into the backseat as we listen to mostly anonymous strangers tell us stories from their lives. I'm a rideshare driver in Atlanta, and the people getting in my car have absolutely no idea I'm going to ask them to share. My commitment to you is to tell at least a snippet of virtually every story recorded in my car in the order they were told to me. My hope is that you laugh, cringe, cry, but mostly connect to these amazing people. You may find a piece of your own story or just feel more connected to the rest of us. Join us, won't you? So, hey, my new friend. This is an adult podcast. Themes and languages are definitely not suitable for everyone. Listener discretion is advised. So, what's going on in your world today? Maybe you're knee-deep in studying, or you're doing the laundry. Maybe you're stuck in traffic somewhere, or sitting at a desk in a decent job, but you're just bored. BCP is offering you an escape. A little theater of the mind, if you will. So, hop aboard this little rocket ship, and let's go cruising around Metro Atlanta and see what kind of life forms we come in contact with. The girlfriend telling our first story today is a little tipsy, and so I cut out the first part of the story where she basically is talking about the time that her drunk boyfriend accidentally broke the toilet in their apartment, and she didn't know what to do to make it stop running water all over the place. So she called 911, and the police came out and turned her water shutoff valve to the off position. At this point, said boyfriend chimes in to add some details.
Story number 134. Sunday, February 7th, 2021, 1:05 a.m.
All the roommates were gone.
Yeah.
She proceeded to say, when 911 was called, she was like, "You need to go hide in my roommate's room because I don't want you to get arrested," or something like that. So I proceeded to just go and hide in the bathroom of her other roommate's room.
Oh,
so, that's what happened.
I didn't want him to get in trouble for breaking and leaving the scene.
So she,
so I told him to go hide.
It was pretty hysterical sitting there.
And then I told the cops, "Oh, my boyfriend, what an asshole. He just left me with this situation."
Yeah.
Like, he just left.
I love it.
And so, because I didn't want him in trouble, I mean, I didn't know. I called the cops, so I was like, I didn't want him in trouble, so I told him to hide. And
That's amazing. So, oh my God.
So, simply they turned off the toilet. My apartment, knocked down my door the next day, and they were like, the office is flooding. Like,
that was another thing, too.
And we were like,
Oh my God.
yeah, we had a little
So
problem last night. The water had dripped to the office.
Like, the foundation into the office. So there was like
no.
puddles of
Yeah,
water,
so we were like, we're aware of that. So they got a vacuum cleaner water thing, and they cleaned it up, and everything was okay. And they replaced my toilet tank, and everything was okay. But
And you guys stayed together through
and we stayed
this
together.
toilet
I was
catastrophe.
traumatized. That was probably
Yeah.
the worst moment of our relationship. So.
Going strong, man. 3.5 years
Three
later.
and a half years. Yeah, I like it.
So the biggest thing you can gather from this is that there is a switch on the back of the toilet.
I love that. That's the
if your
takeaway.
toilet floods,
Yeah.
just simply turn it off.
Well, you know.
They could have told me that over the phone. They proceeded to call the cops, bring all the cops there, and then he turned it off. And I was like, you could have told me that.
That's funny. Well, Miss A, thank you so much for sharing the story and for the help of your boyfriend in coloring it in. And yes, we all know now what to do if we fall and break the toilet open. Don't call the cops. Just turn off the water. I like it. It really is a public service announcement.
It really is. If your toilet floods,
it's the more you know.
If you're a female and your toilet floods your room, you don't know what to do.
That's true. That's true. Fair enough.
Yeah, man.
Fair
Thank
enough.
you so much for having us. We look forward to seeing this podcast going, man.
Thank you.
You're doing awesome.
Well, thank you. You're so kind, and I can't. Besides the PSA on turning the shutoff valves off if your toilet is overflowing uncontrollably, I do have to say that I feel for police officers that get called to do all sorts of things that don't really seem to be what they're trained for, and arguably what their job description is. Anyways, glad all ended well for these two with their broken toilet capers. Our next writer was a thoughtful young man who started by telling me a story about some high school drama. And then we started talking about his life in the present as a Georgetown University student, which, of course, is no small feat. It was fun hearing him process the complicated ideas of who we should and shouldn't be friends with.
Story number 135. Sunday, February 7th, 2021, 1:23 a.m.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are responsible for guiding my my ethics and my thought processes, so I would not be here without them, so
that's awesome.
No credit to me.
That's very humble. But,
no, it's not even that. In the sense that I've been seeing a lot of sociological quotes on people saying that in terms, just socialism quotes in terms of people saying that you are what you look out in the world and see. So ultimately, I've been seeing a lot more thought on you being what you put out into the world. And reflection in that sense. I'm not well versed on that, so I won't get into it. But
there's the one of the quotes that I don't know if you've heard, but you may agree with this, and I think it's overall it's pretty true. It says something along the lines of you are essentially the average of the 5 closest people to you. So if you surround yourself with good people, and people that are, going somewhere and that are ethical, good people, then you are probably likely that same way. And if not, then that's, you're probably not going in a great direction. So yeah, there is that idea that you are probably like the people you surround yourself with. So that it definitely, but it also says something about you to choose to have good people around you, right? So
yeah, you know what's actually interesting about that?
Yeah, tell me.
Morally, oftentimes I can identify when a person is morally probably a very good person and very nice and ethically so, just a kind person, what people would consider to be a kind person. However, that person doesn't radiate with me in a friendship sense, in that I would go out of my way to really in friendships I need I'd say, I don't know, something different in that I don't know what they're going to do next.
So you like the mystery and the...
Yeah, in a friendship, I like the conversation, not knowing where a conversation will necessarily take me.
Yeah.
And it not necessarily having any borders, but...
I love that.
And with a lot of friends, though, I've been finding that, while it's definitely important to uphold a certain respect of everyone's ethnicities, personalities, just generally being respectful of who you're speaking to.
Yeah.
I definitely do enjoy pushing those boundaries in friendly banter sense, and oftentimes find that when you're friends with people that are often kind, it kind of, well, I definitely do understand in circumstances in which it is kind of in the air whether or not you're being insensitive or just a jerk versus funny and playful.
Yeah.
But I definitely find that it's definitely it's getting harder to be the latter. And I don't know, it just you kind of sparked my thought on, while I am friends with a lot of decent people like my friend Ethan, I also find myself being friends with a person I wouldn't necessarily say that is the best for a certain aspect of conversation, but at the same time I understand my interactions with them and understand the distance at which to keep them, that our friendship or relationship can be at least some aspects healthy, because there are some ideas I know that they hold that that I know are ultimately probably problematic, but I meet people, I have upheld the ideology of meeting people where they are, and I can't necessarily enforce ideology onto someone else. I can only speak on what I know, and if they uptake that, then that's their goal, and if there's a limit to that, in which I will say a person can be my friend if they have so many things that are inherently problematic. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that there's a hard limit on those things, and I don't know how to identify them or what that really means in sense of friendship.
Yeah, well, and I'm not 100% sure I totally follow everything, but I think part of what you're saying is that sometimes just kind, nice people are a little boring, and that you also enjoy having people around you that challenge you and that expand you and that essentially are interesting. And if that's what you're saying, okay, so I completely understand that. And yeah, I'm kind of the same way, because I think the whole breadth of the human experience is pretty amazing, and I think I've expanded my circle out, or I'm trying to get more interesting people and people with more diverse views than maybe my own, and because it is fascinating to have people that you can banter with and that challenge you and that don't think just like you. And so yeah, I totally get that. That's also super important. So,
but when you're friends with that person, you understand that your relationship with that person is a certain way.
Yes.
And that they are they're your friend, but to an extent they have things to learn.
Yes.
But everyone else puts there's an expectation nowadays that you are who you're friends with.
Yeah.
And the opinions that your friends hold are those of yours. And while I do understand the oppressive manner in which that can take place and have its impacts on friendships and the way that we address certain things in those friendships and the way we address information in those friendships, I definitely don't think people are completely one-dimensional, and a lot of people are just misguided at points.
Yeah.
However, we tend to cut them off at the instinct of they don't know right now, and I don't want to deal with it.
No, that's really cool. I think you're right. I do like a world that's a little bit more gradients of gray than black and white. Not speaking, of course, of skin color, but we're talking about moral, ethical, whatever. I like that, and I do think you're right that there is a beautiful place for people that, like you said, disagree with you, or that you may disagree with, or that challenge you or push you to think differently. And not just give in to, okay, maybe what's comfortable for me or for society is just to have people that all sort of think and feel the same way I do, but to include others in there. I agree with that. I think that's ultimately powerful. And I think you also hit on the wisdom of knowing all right, if I'm going to include people like that in my circle, how close do I let them get to me in terms of being my best besties and really my inner circle. But yeah, man, this definitely went we strayed from the two girls and that whole story and went kind of deeply philosophical. Yeah, it was great. I like it.
I don't necessarily like to talk about any one thing. I didn't really know where I was going with the story when I introduced it in the first place. So
yeah.
I couldn't really stay at it. So
I love
appreciate
it.
You taking on my ramblings, man.
Absolutely, and thank you for keeping me entertained when it's past 1 a.m. and you're out here driving.
Thank you for doing this work. It's been an honor.
Thank you. Oh, it's my honor. Thank you so much for participating. I appreciate it very, very much. So our current culture is riddled with wokeism and virtue signaling, and it is very easy to essentially cancel people out of your life if they don't agree with your particular set of political ideologies. I love that he is grappling with how to let some of those people stay in his life, but be careful of how close to let them in. There is no easy answer, because I do believe that certain people can really bring you down if you let them in too close when they shouldn't be. But simultaneously, if we cut off all voices that we disagree with, we become monotone and stop growing, and also become emotionally fragile. This is a great example of where balance is the secret to managing how you navigate these type of considerations. This guy here talks about how hard it is to live somewhere where you have no real community, and how much better it is when you find a place that helps you connect to deep friendship and community.
Story number 136. Sunday, February 7th, 2021, 2 a.m.
When I graduated college, I started a rotational program, and knowing I was going to move to different places, and yeah, I mean that's a tough place. Tough. Every 5 to 6 months, you're going to get relocated, whether you want to or you don't want to. So
yeah,
I'm not going to equate it to anything like way more intense, but that was just part of the job.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I started, they sent me to Augusta, Georgia, and I honestly was excited. I was like, I went to Clemson, so
okay, yeah,
Southeast, and I was like, I'm gonna go to Augusta. Like, this is a new place. It's awesome. The only thing I knew about Augusta was they had the Masters. So I show up there, and I could not meet a single friend. I'm like, holy crap, this place is not anywhere near awesome, let's just say the least.
Right. Yeah, it's a tough town.
So I show up to work, and they say, we're going to get 2 interns from France. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Right.
So, but they're not starting for 2 weeks. So 2 weeks later, these 2 kids, this one girl and the one guy show up. They're Gustin and Caroline. They show up, and they go, they do not speak a single word of English.
Oh, no.
I'm like, oh, goodness gracious. But I had been here for 2 weeks, and I could not meet anyone who was young, because not a lot of people work 45 minutes south of Augusta, which is where they sent me.
Wow.
So Caroline and Augusta show up, and they just tell me this awful half-broken story of in French / English, and I am like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like, why the hell am I here? And
what was the story?
They tell me it was some broken story about how they couldn't find their car, how they couldn't get down to the work site, how they couldn't get to here. I'm like,
okay.
I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be. I don't want to be friends with you. I'm just trying to go on from there. And sure enough, life goes on. They go. So the first broken story they're telling me is they couldn't figure out how to drive their car. They couldn't figure out how to get it here, right lane, left lane.
Right.
I couldn't get out. So they asked me, it's like, where do you live? I'm like, I live on like Augusta Street, or it was like St. Augustine Street or something. It was an apartment complex.
Yeah.
They go, we live on Augustine Street. I'm like, no, it's an apartment complex. They're like, no, yeah, we live in an apartment complex. I'm like, oh my God, so I was like, I was finally excited that 2 people moved here, and then sure enough, they were telling me, no, we live next door to you, like literally the apartment across my hall. I'm like, oh my God,
that is crazy.
I'm like, fuck. I was like, I didn't have any friends here. I didn't want it. I was like, I wanted friends here, and now I got a bunch of people who don't talk. I was like, so sure enough, I don't know. I'll tell the story. Like, I taught them English. They learned English very fast themselves, and they became like two of my great friends who.
Oh wow.
They moved back to I think Marseille would be in France.
Yeah.
We moved on from there, and I got relocated back to Atlanta. And honestly, when I found out I was moving to Atlanta, I was like, damn, that sucks. There's a lot of traffic there. And like,
wow.
And I was in Augusta, and I was like, it's better than Augusta. That's all I said. Right. Sure enough, I showed up here. I knew some people. Wasn't good friends with them.
Yep.
And hit them up and said, hey, here we are 3.5 years later. Yeah. And I will call them my best friend. Okay. Best friends. So yeah. You never know what life will give you. You just you show up someplace. It's like I don't know. I love watching The Office. And yeah. I've watched in The Office all the time. So yeah. It's kind of like, I think at the end of it, they're like, you just show up someplace. You show up every day, and who knows that these people will become your best friends. So yeah. 3 years later, I actually, like, one of the saddest points of, I will say, post-college was work sent me to Greenville, South Carolina after being in Atlanta for 2 years, and yeah. I was so sad. I called my parents every day. I was like, I'm quitting my job. I hate this. Like, I'm not doing it. And then,
I love Greenville, though.
I loved it. I loved it, but the people I'd met here were so awesome. Yeah. I mean, to this day, you just picked me up from there. Like, yeah. I love them all, and I was just like, I can't leave this place. Like, I've got so many good friends. That's awesome. Knew so many people in Greenville. I went to Clemson, which was 35 minutes away from Greenville. Yeah. And yeah, I was just, to this day, I was like, I can't leave. I can't, like, and then sure enough, I left for 8 months. My current boss called me and said, I have a job offer for you in Atlanta. I moved back, and yeah, couldn't be more happy. Well,
welcome back, man. And I love that you've got, because it's really all about community, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, if you've got friends, if you've got community, man, it makes it the greatest place. And you could really be in a neat, wonderful place with lots to do. And if you cannot make a friend, if you can't get that community, it doesn't matter. You'll be miserable.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've been places where you couldn't meet that community. I mean, yeah. When I was in Augusta, it was tough sledding. Right. Like,
you literally had to teach two people English to have community, which is hysterical.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, I did my best, and just to be crazy with you, like, there's still my friends today, but like,
I love that.
There's there's no place like Atlanta. Like, it's one of the best places I've lived, and my parents lived here when they were young, before they were married, but before I was here, and they love it. So, like, Atlanta's a great place.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a neat place. It's like if LA and Nashville had a baby that was a little grittier in hip hop, that's what Atlanta would be. It's super interesting place. But, well, dude, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it. I'm super glad that you're here and you're enjoying yourself, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And last, go Tigers, which is like Clemson Tigers.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
I had to give them a plug. So
yeah, man.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna just leave this right
here. So our friend here ends up telling a bit of a love story about Atlanta, and I am here for it. Ultimately, the connections we make or don't make really do shape how we feel about an entire geographic area. So interesting. Our next writer shares so vulnerably about where she's at in this relationship, and we catch her in the middle of the story, so there's no resolve. So much of our lives are like that. We are in the middle of a drama, and we don't yet know how it is going to conclude.
Story number 137. Monday, February 8, 2021, 9:32 p.m.
So I have this boyfriend.
Yes.
And, he's recently telling me that he doesn't want to be in a relationship anymore.
Oh, wow.
And he's 25 and I'm 36.
Oh, you went, you're a little cougar, I see. I like that.
I forgot I was turning 36, but.
Well, that's a good thing. That means that means you feel young at heart. So that's awesome.
Yeah, so I moved down here from New Jersey just to be with him, and I really feel like I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? I don't know what he thinks.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to give up. You know what I'm saying? Because I know he loves me. I just, started, interacting with his family, and it's, one thing after another. I almost couldn't, it's it takes my breath away, just the thought of not being with him.
Wow.
And, so I've been sitting here all day just trying to figure out what do I got to do. I even thought about you. Let me find something, conjure up a spell or something. I don't believe in that stuff, but
right.
I was thinking that heavy, that deep, because I love him that much.
Wow.
So there just has to be a way to bring him back. It's only because he thinks I don't trust him. It's only because the sex is really, really, really good, and if he just would just not.
Right.
You can really I guess you would call it hypnotize a person with the sexual things you do, and he always sounds sexy on the phone, so I'm always thinking he's with a girl or something, not thinking he's such a good man like he really, really is though.
So if I'm understanding you right, you really love him, the sex is amazing, you moved here for him, but it's almost like you're afraid to lose this amazing thing. So because of that, you're not trusting him, and then he's getting mad that you're not trusting him. Okay.
Right.
So has he done? I guess the first question is: has he done things that are legitimately been out with another woman? Done something that's legitimately given you reason to actually worry?
Nothing at all.
Oh, sweet girl. Okay. So this is legitimately this is your own.
This is all
struggle.
me. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. If I may, did something happen in a past relationship or past relationships that have caused you to kind of be super suspicious?
Well, here's the thing. I met him online.
Yeah.
So I met him on a dating site.
Yeah.
But most of these dating sites, people hook up and they do it.
Right.
And that's just it.
Right. Yeah.
So because I met him that way, and because I've seen other guys, the lies that they tell, and I've been firsthand, been right there while they'll lie to their girlfriend or lie to their wife.
Sure.
And being that I met him on this particular site, I'm thinking, well, does he still go back on this site?
Gotcha.
Does it, he found me, but he told me, he just was on there. It's not like he just always goes on there. And since he met me, he had no reason to go back on the site. But it raises all these questions. It's I can't believe anything because I've seen so much. I've heard so much, so many lies. I see the game.
Yeah, of course.
So it's just extra hard. And then he's so perfect in my eyes that I'm like, okay, so where is the fuckery?
Right. Something's got to be wrong here.
Right.
Yeah.
Because everything is just too perfect. So I don't want to give up. I don't feel like, giving up is the correct thing. If you love somebody, you're not going to give up. You're going to try.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think so.
Yeah. Well, have you ever thought of counseling or any of that stuff to help you kind of work through some of your trust issues or?
Yeah, well, I need to. I take medication right now for depression and stuff like that. But the counseling thing, I really need to look into a little bit more. I just don't have the time to. But I wish I could have counseling with him. But
yeah, that would be amazing.
I don't even know if he's open to that. Being that we've only been together for a year and 4 months.
Okay, so it's still a relatively new relationship.
Right. So I'm just trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
It hurts. I almost want to give up everything sometimes. I just don't want to it hurts when the person you love is not trying to reciprocate.
Yeah.
And he's just saying it's all because of me not trusting him. He's a very calm, cool, collective person.
Well, I have no idea how all that's going to turn out, but you are a hardworking, beautiful lady with so much life ahead of you. Yeah, for real. And so, however it goes, I really, really hope that you find your own worth is enough, and that you believe, you keep hope alive that there are good things ahead of you, whether it's with this gentleman or another one. I guarantee you, he's not the only guy in the whole world, right? I mean, right now he's the only one.
He feels like it.
I know. I get that, and that's awesome. And I genuinely hope it all works out. I really do, because that would be
it would be awesome,
an incredible love story, and I always would root for that, of course. But I'm just saying, even if that doesn't happen, because you can't make people do things, right? We all have to make our own choices. I just just really hope that you don't lose track and sight of the fact that there's hope and there's light in this world for you. So,
well, thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for sharing your story. I know you're right in the middle of it, so that's a painful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thanks for being brave and sharing, because I know someone's going to hear this. It's going to be right in the middle of some relationship stuff, and they're going to be like, "Man, I so relate to this lady."
And just don't give up, because if you love them, if you give up, they're going to be gone.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, really.
Wow. Thank you, Nisi.
Thank you.
It's tough, because you hear the saying that if you truly love someone, then you have to let them go and see if they return. I also understand her point of view of wanting to fight for the one she loves. The desperation of considering casting spells and stuff, though, is hard to hear. I obviously don't think using witchcraft to bend someone to your will is a good idea. So really, her only path forward is going to be to work on herself and hopefully become the kind of person that her boyfriend or any other good guy would want to be with. I'm genuinely wishing her all the success possible on her healing journey. Sometimes you hear someone's story and it is so profound that you know you'll never forget it. And sometimes you meet someone who doesn't look like a superhero or talk like a superhero, but totally is one. This is one of those stories.
Story number 138. Monday, February 8, 2021, 10:02 p.m.
So, before my wife and I moved here to Georgia, it was the time that we were having difficulties. We were living in Washington at the time, and we were Washington State. Yes, sir. Correct. Mm-hmm. We were 2 blocks away from Winco. It's a convenience store. It's a grocery store, kind of like Walmart and Shopko, and just a typical 24-hour grocery store.
Yeah.
Well, I walked there, and I had music on, and I was walking out, and I noticed a lady yelling, screaming, crying to have somebody help her, and she had a walking boot because of a broken leg.
Okay.
And the moment I took my headphones off, I heard the little girl screaming in the back seat of a black SUV.
Oh, Jesus.
That was almost out of the parking lot of Winco.
Oh, wow.
I dropped everything I had and took off running. And I dove through the driver's side window and pulled the driver out.
Wow.
And was wailing on him, and next thing I know, 2 police officers, one was a sheriff, had tased me.
Oh, wow.
They only saw me go flying through that window.
Sure.
And so I pulled the 2 prongs from their taser out of my side and started advancing, and I stopped because I noticed who it was, and I stopped advancing and started getting arrested, and the mom finally got over to us.
Yeah.
And let the officers know what was going on, and they finally uncuffed me. And when they opened the back door, sure enough, there was a little girl who was still crying and screaming.
Oh my God.
And she just clung on to me for a while.
Wow. The little girl did?
Yeah.
Wow.
And a few days later, the mom messaged me thanking me because they were out of town. They were visiting family and they were from Nevada.
Okay.
And nobody helped them.
Wow.
Like, you would have had to have been deaf, listening to loud music, or had been miles away.
Wow.
Not to hear that little girl scream. And yeah. I was pissed at the time.
Yeah.
Like, I was extremely angry when I got back, and my wife and one of my close friends that I consider a brother had to tell me, dude, it's okay, you saved that little girl's life.
Yeah.
And in a way, she saved mine as well.
Wow. And I can't even imagine, so I totally understand you being overcome with emotion right now. Wow. I want to know about who the guy was who took her, and I want to understand more about how she saved your life in either order you can tell me.
As far as I know, the mom texted me saying that there's not going to be a trial because the guy that took her committed suicide in jail because he couldn't get the girl, and so there wasn't going to be a trial.
Now,
and
was this guy related to her somehow? We
have no idea. It was just some random guy that wanted the girl, apparently the little girl. I don't know who it was.
And he ended up committing suicide in jail. Wow, that is nuts. Okay. And all right, so and then tell me how you said you saved her life, obviously, but tell me about how you feel like she saved yours.
For a while, even after meeting my wife, I didn't think I was going to amount to anything.
Yes, sir.
That all I was good for was to get in trouble and just eventually either wind up back in jail or just doing something stupid because I was in a bad situation at the time, and this is the first time I was in a good situation.
Yeah. Wow.
And I'm someone's hero because a friend of mine from high school calls me the Flash because of my personality and always running pretty quick, and apparently this little girl now I remind her of the Flash because she said her mom said that she sleeps with the Flash doll because it reminds her of the guy that ran really, really fast.
Yeah.
That saved her. Well, the cute guy that ran really, really fast to save her. How in the world you managed to get? I don't know what the distance was, but to run down a vehicle doesn't sound probable. That does sound like superhero stuff. I mean, you're a real life superhero, man. That's incredible. From the distance is probably a good 600 feet before he actually turned onto the street. Wow. He was about 200 feet from being on the street, and I was about 600 feet from him.
Wow, that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, like physically, I don't know how you did that. So
I don't know either, because he was in the process of turning to start going to the main street so he can turn left or right.
Wow.
And I booked it. I didn't care if I had to chase him down. I just took off as fast as I could.
Wow. I don't know if you're a person of faith or not. It's not really any of my business in a lot of ways, but I can't help but think that there has to be, like, you were in this tough place in life, but here you are, this person with a big heart and the willingness to do something. And I mean, I don't know how all that stuff works, but it feels like it was sort of a call over your life in a way, a divine call to be there. Man, I can't even imagine, like you said, like how things would have gone if you hadn't been able to step up. I mean, it would have been like a really awful story. back. So, man, thank you so much for what you did, and I'm so grateful, honestly, that you were there not only for the little girl, but I'm glad in a way that the little girl was there for you. It sounds like it's incredible.
Same here. Thank you.
Yeah, bless you, my friend.
Thank you.
I'm going to just let this story be for the moment without too much comment, because honestly, there's just something sacred about it. So our new friend Isaac here had a scheduled stop and was out of the car for a few minutes before I took him to his next destination, and so I started a new recording and got some additional details.
Story number 139. Monday, February 8th, 2021, 10:14 p.m.
So Isaac was getting out at a stop and then getting back in the car and tells me that there's actually a part 2 to this story. So, and I have no idea what it is. So tell us what the part 2 to this wild, crazy story is.
So 2 weeks before we moved here to Georgia, 2 weeks before Christmas time.
Okay.
Because that's when we moved over here. My brother came over with his truck, loaded our car up, and he towed it behind his truck. And we drove the 2,500 miles straight through.
That's crazy.
Well, I get pulled over on my way home to where my wife and I were staying at, which was her mom and stepdad's house.
Okay.
In an area called Findlay, Washington.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, time frame wise, how much time has elapsed between rescuing that little girl?
Couple months actually.
Okay, so this whole story is not that old, by the way.
No, it's not.
Wow. Okay. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Because my wife and I got married last year, and it was right before we got married is when I saved the little girl's life, which was in June.
Wow.
Well,
congratulations on that, man. This is obviously 2020 was a huge year for you in multiple levels. Good Lord. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I get pulled over, and the officer's taking a long time, and I don't know what's going on. It seems like he's taking forever.
Yeah.
Gets to the window. I give him my license, and I hear him apologize. And I look up, and he goes, "I'm actually the officer that tased you at Winco on this date." I'm like, "Wait, what?" He goes, "This is a small world." He's like, "I want to apologize and thank you," because he's like, "You did a better job than I did, and you're a civilian."
Wow.
He's like, you did a better job than I could."
Wow.
And he goes, and because they were at the Winco parking lot. They were inside the parking lot on the side, parked on the side of it, and they didn't see anything that was going on until they saw a 6-foot white guy go diving through a driver's side window.
Right.
And
that was their clue.
Then the officer told me, he goes, "I also am glad that I didn't fight you, because for you to pull the prongs of my taser out of your side and start advancing and then stop, knowing who we were."
Yeah.
He goes, "That's someone that knew what they were doing and knew that, nope, I gotta stop advancing." He's like, I'm glad I did not have to fight you."
Yeah. Well, and your adrenaline, of course, was probably just out of control at that point. I mean, even to dive through a window of a moving car, I don't know. I mean, you see it in the movies or something, but that's practice it like 10,000 times, and you got to have like a rope and a this and a that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
But a lot of people don't know there's a certain spot right near your mirror on the windows, is if you hit it with enough impact or just a pinpoint impact, it doesn't matter how hard. Once something hits that, it will completely shatter the window.
Wait, so the window wasn't rolled down?
No.
Dude, this whole time I've been imagining an open window. So you had to break the window and then jump through?
I was in the process of like going through the window.
Okay. You just dove through it.
I dove through it.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. The whole thing is, it literally is like, it sounds like something out of a freaking superhero movie. They need to make a superhero called Isaac, clearly. And I love that little girl keeps a flash by her. Like, oh my God. Dude, this is one of the most, like, kind of heart-racing and then moving, powerful stories that I've ever heard. Just crazy. So, how has this whole thing affected your life since then? I know you talked a little bit about saving your life, which is amazing. So, it's obviously been a good thing. But just, I'd love to hear more about how it's impacted you. In the way, like, you look at life and feel about yourself and all that. Sorry.
Uplifting. I don't see myself as a failure anymore.
Yes, sir. That's so good.
And, like, even the officer told me, he even texted me a day or two later, and he texted me saying that sorry, my wife's calling me.
No problem. I can just pause it, no problem.
The same officer texted me saying the reason why he was texting me is because he saw my eyes that I looked down, and he wanted to thank me again. And he goes, "Hey, don't be depressed." He's like, "Be grateful." He's like, "You saved someone's life, and they're home with their mom. They're back home. They're able to live their life out without living regrets." And he goes, he's like, "You're a hero, young man." He's like, "And I just want you to know that."
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I feel like there's just, there's so many places I want to go with it. But, man, Isaac, thank you so much for sharing your story. I am so grateful to the little girl. I mean, this is a thing that no matter what you do, where you go in life, will never be able to be taken away from you. You will carry with you for the rest of time that there's a little girl who was saved from God knows what horrors, and that she in turn gave you, sounds like, reason to hope again. So that is incredible. Man, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I'm really grateful the police officer apologized for reading the situation all wrong and initially detaining the good guy. I also like that the officer could see that this young man had issues with feeling like he was not good enough and had no purpose in life. It's so important that people in authority have the humility to apologize when they mess up and also use their position to lift folks up around them whenever they can. Kudos to this officer. So besides our first riders, the stories today haven't really been funny or about a wild night or something, but they've leaned more into the contemplative and deeper side of life. We had discussions on friendship, community, and the aching of the heart when you feel like you're losing the person you're so in love with. But clearly, our final rider's two-part saga is the showstopper. I feel like I could do a multi-day workshop with breakout groups of discussion on all the many facets of the story. But I'm just going to leave us with a couple of observations. This troubled young man was struggling to see what his purpose was and if he was even a decent human. there was a little girl who ended up staying alive and relatively unharmed for no other reason than Isaac existed and happened to be in proximity to her when she needed help. When you really think about it, life is just such an interesting ride in so many ways. So much to learn and to discover along the way. And sometimes we find that when we've lost our way, if we reach out to help or just show love and kindness to someone near us, we end up finding our way again. Cheers to that, my friends. This is what happens when you are a rideshare driver in Atlanta and ask people for their stories. These weren't handpicked people with great stories. They just happened to get in my car and be gracious enough to share with all of us. And who knows, maybe someday you'll be in Atlanta and need to grab a rideshare and end up telling the rest of us the next great story on BCP. I'd actually encourage you to, every so often, just ask a stranger to share a story from their life. You never know what you might learn. I believe that our stories are powerful. They can make you laugh, cringe, cry, or even get you to think or feel differently. Our stories can truly make this world a little bit better place. So please, subscribe, rate, and listen to this podcast and share it with as many adults as possible. It would mean so much to me. First and foremost, I want to thank the incredible writers who trusted me with your stories. You're my heroes. Thanks also to all the people in the background who have believed in this project/dream. All of the music on this podcast was found on pixabay.com, and it was free, which is an amazing gift when you're starting a podcast on a shoestring budget.